Okay, we're downloading A-Game's formula.
3, 2, 1.
Hey all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly values, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. Hey, I always think I'm a tad askew. I'm coming at y'all today. Coming at y'all today with the animal print. How you doing? Hey, Kuroichi said they need to make a Black Panther commercial where he takes his A game instead of the heart-shaped herb. You know what? That would be cool. And thank you so much for kicking off. Thank you for kicking off the contributions. We gotta talk about Wakanda Forever, y'all. We gotta talk about it. And we gotta talk about it because several things are true at once. Thank you, Miss Lou Casely. Several things are true about this movie at once. See, it did a lot of things. Was it a feminist agenda in it? Yep. Did they take away the black male leadership and representation in this movie? Yes. Did they include a rainbow subtext agenda? Yes, they did. Did Shuri end up being the next Black Panther? Yes, she did. Was she fitting in the mantle? No, she was not. But it was also a truth-telling movie. Oh, we gonna get into it. We gonna get into it today. Oh, the movie told the truth. It told a very uncomfortable truth. Real uncomfortable. Because see, what we need to do is an overview of Black Panther and why we like Black Panther so much. We like Black Panther for a couple of reasons. First of all, we got to see something that we rarely, if ever, see in popular media, which was righteous black male leadership in patriarchal power. We don't hardly ever see that in any movie, no matter who make it. Thank you, Ezra said they all needed an A game in that movie because it was trash. Thank you so much. See, we got to see that. We got to see T'Chaka. We got to see T'Challa. We got to see M'Baku. We got to see several instances of black male heterosexual masculine leadership. We loved it. We loved it for that reason. I loved it for that reason. I forgave some of the things that they didn't get right from comic books because of it. We liked it because it displayed the strength of Black male leadership, which resulted in the abundance and the wealth of Wakanda because the leadership was so stellar. It wasn't perfect, but nobody is, but it was stellar leadership nonetheless. Thank you, Too Tall. We liked it because it told the story of American Blacks and Africans. The nuances really brought to the screen what we went through, or the result of the transatlantic slave trade. Although they didn't mention the slave trade necessarily, they did refer to the agents as colonizers. They referred to like America as colonizers. So there was a recognition of it. But more importantly, we liked Black Panther because it told the story about the difference between the loss value system and the 10 life value system. Oh, we gonna get into it today. The story of Black Panther was the story of two value systems. T'Challa represented the 10 life values, and Killmonger represented the lost value system. Why? Because of where Killmonger came from, where Killmonger was raised, what Killmonger was taught to do. See, that's why the agent came and ended up what he ended up telling T'Challa and everybody else. Like, you can't trust Eric Killmonger. I don't care if he is by blood Wakandan. By blood, he's Wakandan. In here, he's us. We taught him how to destabilize a whole entire nation. That's what he's here to do. He's here to do what we taught him how to do. In other words, he was warning them that in Jadaka, Killmonger was a part of the lost value system. And there ain't no way you gonna be able to trust him because he didn't get rid of that mindset. It doesn't matter that he is by blood related to you. His value system is too different. It's our value system. That's how we know it's corrupt. That's how we know he corrupt. Because he is the embodiment of the lost value system that we gave him. Now, see, that's important. That's important. That's an important point that we're going to come back to in devastating manner. Now, the other thing that we liked about the original Black Panther is that it told a story about us that we know to have been true. It was almost like reaching to the past to give us something. We liked looking at the abundance and the excellence of Wakanda. Okay? We like looking at it. For all intents and purposes, It told a past story. What the black community looks like under righteous black male leadership. That was the story of our past. Wakanda Forever is uncomfortable. We don't really like the story that Wakanda Forever is teaching us or telling us or putting in our faces. But I'm going to tell you this much. The story that Wakanda Forever is telling us is the truth about our state right now. That's why we don't like it. We don't like that. Now, like the first one, there are a couple of stories being told. Thank you, Drew Satos. I love you, sis. Keep bringing the heat with your fine self. Thank you so much, sweetheart. It's telling a couple of stories. Thank you, Theo. It's telling a couple of stories. It's telling the story of the plot, right? It's telling the story of the plot. It starts off with a funeral ceremony for T'Challa, which they had to, I guess, play that in some type of way, although in terms of the comic book, T'Challa wouldn't have been dead from any disease because the heart-shaped herb actually preserves him physically from, it makes him pretty much impervious, right? Gets a healing factor because he can take death blow wounds and recover from them. That was the whole purpose of giving him the heart-shaped herb in the first one, to bring him back from the brink of death, right? So I guess they had to say something. So I don't blame them for that. I am of the mindset, just as a side note, of recasting the Black Panther because you just not going to do us like that. I understand that Chadwick has passed away. I was very saddened by that, you know, but we going to have to recast T'Challa. And it's a lot in the MCU that would allow that, especially the opening up of the multiverse. There are other versions of T'Challa. And there is the son of T'Challa, which in the comic books is Azuri, which is his son that he had with Storm. Okay. They probably not going to bring that part of the story into it, but whatever. You know what? Never mind. Thank you, Paul Hines. Said the truth hurts, then it heals. And thank you so much. And thank you, Drew. Said, oh no, Theo, she's mine. Have a good day, family. Thank you so much. All right. So we open up with a ceremony that all of us understood from the trailer was a funeral procession for T'Challa. And it was like we thought it was. So with the death of T'Challa, the rulership of Wakanda reverts back to Queen Ramonda. Okay? So now what is important is that she shows up to the UN, basically. And they have proof that the United States or whatever is attempting to steal vibranium by hitting the outreach centers that T'Challa set up at the end of the first one. Okay? They defended successfully. And she basically tells them, don't think for a minute that we can't protect our resources just because the king is dead. Okay? Now, the reason that she is so confident in saying that to them is because Ramonda is still going to uphold the value system of Wakanda. This is important. This is extremely important. Okay? So I'm not going to go scene for scene, but we're going to hit some important things. Okay? So they've put Ramonda back into a leadership role because she was never the leader. Her husband T'Chaka was the leader and then her son, right? So, she was the queen regent. She was the queen, then she was the queen regent. And then she became in the queen's seat without a king. Okay? So the male leadership is actually gone. The only male leader that they are showing is M'Baku, who is still the king of the Jabari tribe, right? Now, they still were digging and looking for vibranium. And they were looking for it in the Atlantic Ocean. They found it, okay? And they were using a specific device in order to detect it. They found a cache of vibranium. However, problem was it was too close in proximity and it endangered the Talokan, which basically in the comic books are the Atlanteans. This is the Submariners people. They call him Namor. Namor, okay, we not even gonna play that game. Namor, aka the Submariner, the king of the Atlanteans, okay? That's who that was. They basically attacked the people who were digging and, the military operation that was going on. They attacked them and they was killing them to preserve the secrecy of their people. Okay? Nobody knows of the existence of the Talokan. Okay? Nobody knows that. He's trying to keep it that way because the reason they changed the name from the Atlanteans and all that kind of stuff is they ended up giving them the cultural aspect of the Mayans, the ancient Mayans, right? Who they run with the colonizers as well, okay? The Spanish conquistadores and all of that, right? So I don't mind that. I actually thought that was a cool little aspect. I thought that was actually cool to bring about another culture that was not black, but still had an experience with colonizers, okay? So they would be able to relate on that point, if nothing else. Now, as we begin to understand, they are an empire as well and have had access to vibranium, and their empire is technologically advanced as well, okay? Now, that's all movie stuff, right? That attack and all of those sorts of things sets up the plot of the movie. Switching back to the Queen Ramonda. She is not. Let me tell y'all something about Queen Ramonda in this. Queen Ramonda is demonstrating two things here, her character. It's demonstrating that she is a lioness. She's attempting to do her best to uphold the values of Wakanda. It is also letting us know that she's not fit for leadership because she's too emotional. She's a woman. See, no matter how dope a lioness is, she's a woman. And she is not fit to have sovereign leadership, okay? Because she's gonna make rash decisions, and we're gonna talk about a very key decision that she made that was too rash. And she's making decisions based on her emotional state. like a woman, not fit for the leadership role that she's now shoehorned into, she's forced into. Okay? But this is why I say she was trying to uphold Wakandan values. Okay? Because Shuri is struggling with the death of T'Challa, her best friend, her brother. Queen Ramonda is noticing this. She attempts to help Shuri deal with the death of T'Challa through the spiritual value. She invites Shuri to sit with her by a fire, just her and Shuri. And she tells Shuri about a spiritual exercise that she was able to do in order to reconnect with the spirit of T'Challa, which is helping her to move on, to go forward. Not forget about him, but go forward. So she's explaining to her, I took my funeral garb, we burning it to signify that we are no longer mourning. And then, and I felt his energy. He was there, and she's going into depth about the spiritual essence. What doesn't Shuri believe in? For those of you who saw, and you didn't even have to see this to understand from the first one, what doesn't Shuri believe in? Somebody put that in the chat for me. What doesn't Shuri believe in? Mr. C said tradition. Yes, that's true. But she also doesn't believe in God. She doesn't believe in the spiritual realm. She has very little spiritual value. This is key. This is key. She has very little spiritual values. This is the opposite of the value system she was raised in. As she began to explain to her mother that I don't actually believe that. Your mind just conjured that up to bring you comfort and all of that type of stuff, but that's not really real, Mom. So you can see the look on Queen Ramonda's face is that she's very disappointed. She's hurt by Shuri's lack of spiritual value, which is going to hurt her. It's going to hurt. Thank you, JJ said, love the outfit. Wakanda has now been gentrified. It has. But it's telling a very uncomfortable truth about who we are and where we are as a community. We're going to get to it. She tells her mom that she don't believe in that. So her mama say, well, when you think of your brother, what do your mind conjure? What kind of construct do you think of? She said, well, I can't think of him too long because when I do, I want to burn the world down. This is key. I want to burn the world down. Her mother just looking at her like, po thing. Where is the spiritual value we taught you? See, this was M'Baku's first criticism of Shuri. You leave the science and the technology and the moving forward of Wakanda in the hands. Not only is she young, a young girl that scoffs at tradition. What was he talking about? She doesn't have the same value system that we got. That was his first criticism of Shuri in the first Black Panther. Thank you, Original Man said more like genderfied in the movie. That was M'Baku's first criticism. And he didn't like Shuri because of that. So now during this scene, which actually the most important part of the scene was Queen Ramonda's interaction with Shuri, not Namor's interaction with them. Because in the same scene, Namor pops up. Immediately, Queen Ramonda is on the defense because how he get in here? How that square get in there? You know what I mean? How did he pass their defenses and all that kind of stuff? All right? Shuri peeps immediately that he's covered in vibranium. Okay? And he's starting to tell Queen Ramonda why he's there. What's going on? He even brings the machine. Like, look. The decision that T'Challa made to come out to the whole world and expose Wakanda for what it really was, for the superpower that it was, has placed me and my people in a very precarious position. The world does not know that we exist, and we pretty much trying to keep it that way. Wakanda can do whatever Wakanda want to do, but you're not gonna endanger me and mine. That's essentially, I'm paraphrasing, that's essentially what he's telling her. Now look, and this is further plot setup to bring Riri Williams into the picture. Because she's the scientist that created the machine that could detect vibranium. And since she's the one that created it, she's the only one that can repair it or create another one. He doesn't want that. So his solution is to bring her to me. Like, I'm going to get her. I'm going to get her, like, because we're not going to have her being utilized in no way, shape, or form to come for my people. Because they digging all around in the Atlantic Ocean, that's where we at, and we not dealing with no colonizers. We just not going to, I'm going to kill them. I don't know what y'all be doing. I don't know if you're friends with them or not. I kind of don't care. My concern is me and my people. That's my only concern. And if Wakanda get in my way, y'all gonna be, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be something to pay the captain. You will be on the list too. Okay? Because in the comic books, Namor is a butthole. All right? He does not like land dwellers, as he called them. He do not like the people of the land under no circumstance. And he be ready to deal death blows anytime his community and his empire come under any kind of danger or any type of discovery and all of that. He's just not going to have it. So Namor don't be playing. Namor don't never be playing. Okay? He do not like land dwellers at all. But we got a commercial break. Oh, I know about superheroes because when I was young, I used to collect comic books. I was a Marvel girl. So the Submariner was one of my favorite characters. Okay? So I even just liked his name, the Submariner. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I see you. You know, I see you, bruh. And Namor, anytime you saw him, you know it was going to be smoke because he never came in peace. He never came in peace. It was always a flood. It was always something. Listen, y'all doing too much up here that's got it going down here, and we not doing it. So whoever causing the problems up here, we got smoke. And he didn't care who you was. Okay? He didn't care if you was a good guy or a bad guy. He didn't care. Namor did not care. You had smoke with him if he felt like you was the cause of anything that was going on with him and his people. Tell me I'm lying. Namor was a problem. You know what? After these messages, we'll be right back.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
In recognition of great African American achievers, this Black History Month, let's bring our A game.
And y'all know I had to represent one time for the brothers with that commercial. Brothers gonna work it out. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Because as I explain and break down Wakanda Forever, you know, we never gonna forget our brothers and how they be on their A game. We gotta do it one time for the brothers. You understand? For the men, we got to. As lionesses, we must make sure to support our men as they try to be on their A game every day and every night, because Black male leadership calls for a lot that goes into that. And it calls for support of their health, okay? Support of their vitality, support of their energy, support of their strength, and support of their libido as well. Okay? A game is the #1 herbal solution for that health support, as it supports a man's overall health by addressing the blood flow in his body. And we have to make sure that we as lionesses are supporting our men, because they really do need that extra layer of support and aid. Somebody that's got their six, that's really going to make sure that they're doing more than just all right, okay? The men in my life take A game, and I've told you this story before. This is some really powerful stuff. It's long lasting. There aren't any side effects because it's 100% natural, right? My father, just before he passed, was really, really uncomfortable, unable to get a proper night's sleep due to pain and all of these other things that was going on with him. So I thought, you know, let me see if I can give him some A game, because I had heard from the brothers that was actually one of the effects of A game, was they were able to get this really, really good, deep, restful sleep. So I gave my father a few dosages of A game as well. And I said, you know what, Dad, go ahead and, you know, take this and tell me how you feel. Well, after about a week or so, I asked him, and I said, Dad, how did that A game, did you ever take it, and how did it make you feel? He said, oh, wow, I was meaning to ask you to give me some more, because he was like, I got some of the best sleep that I've gotten in months. He was like, because I don't tell you this, but I don't sleep. I don't really sleep. I go in and out. It's real fitful. I don't get good night sleeps. I don't get good rest. And this was able to give him some relief in that area. And so I'm understanding that A game is the real deal. So if you want to become part of the A game family, and I know that you do, please hit the link at the top of the chat, agameherbal.com, and do not forget your 10% discount using the code Kendra10 so you can get A game delivered to you ASAP, okay? All right, and I want to thank everybody before we get back to the cook. I want to thank everybody for being here. I owe y'all a bam, 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 bam. You got to hit the like button, bam, bam. You got to because we got 422 awesome people that have hit the like button. Let's go ahead and get the other 500 or so to hit the like button as well, because this supports the channel as well. And thank you for all of the support and contributions that you've given so far. Very appreciated. Let's get back to it. Okay? So Namor is telling Queen Ramonda what he wants and what they got to do, right? So now, what's going on with that is that there are, in this movie, a lot of main plots. In the background of the movie's main plots is the U.S. plots and plans. Now, see, interestingly enough, in this movie, there is not a whole lot of scenes with, what is the agent's name? Because I always just say colonizer. The character that Martin Freeman is playing. The little CI, the little white guy. What's his name in the movie? I keep forgetting his name. But there are not a whole Agent Ross, thank you. Not a whole lot of scenes with him and his superior, but these scenes that did have them in it was very, very, very key. Very key. Okay? One moment. Okay, very key. Because the first key thing is they were hitting those outreach centers looking to steal vibranium, right? The other thing that was going on was that as the Submariner's people was making various attacks, and because they didn't really know about the existence of his people, they were blaming Wakanda for it in the media. So they were spreading propaganda about Wakanda, right? Trying to make them out to be what? What's the word? Starts with a T. They were trying to make Wakanda out to be what? Terrorists. That's the story that they was trying to put together about Wakanda. Oh, they hitting, what I'm saying, this, that, and the third, and they attacking us and blah, 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 blah. No. But see, that storyline and that little narrative would have worked well for them. So they didn't mind putting that on Wakanda. Okay? Now, We skipping some scenes. But Okoye is going to go and get Riri from America and bring her back to Wakanda, basically for safekeeping. And I assume that they were going to try to negotiate with Namor about it. So Queen Ramonda sends Okoye to go and do this mission. Okoye convinces her that to take Shuri with her because she like, she's still struggling, this will get her out of the lab and, blah, 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 blah. She'll be in good hands. I ain't gonna let nothing happen to her. Queen Ramonda agrees to that. Shuri and Okoye come to America. Riri is at MIT. They go and get her, convince her to come with them. As they go to Riri's like little garage or whatever, where she works on basically a copy of Iron Man's suit, and where she has the schematics for the machine and all this stuff, and this car that was her father's, it doesn't really work anymore, blah, blah, blah. She's got all this stuff. The feds show up. Okay? The feds show up. Along with the feds come Submariner's people. They show up too. Because they gonna get Riri. They gonna get her. Namor promised all of that. He goes, listen, we already know how y'all operate. Okay? So now during this whole fight scene, thank you, Datorian, I'm skipping over a lot of it. During this whole fight scene, Okoye ain't got nothing coming from Atuma because she wouldn't, right? So at least they gave us that he whooped her because he was supposed to whoop her, right? So she get whooped by Atuma. She gets thrown off, into the water, whatever. So she does not see the fact that Shuri volunteers to go with them because she wants to talk to Namor. Okay? So they like, well, okay, we take you down there with him, talk to him, whatever. So they do. Okoye has to come back and report what happened to Queen Ramonda and to the council. Okay? Now, this is where Queen Ramonda shows that she's not fit for leadership. Because she reacts emotionally. Now, it was something very key in this scene. There are men in the council. There's the council, one of the council members that was from the original Black Panther. And then M'Baku is also sitting in the advisory council. Thank you, Alf Wiz. The council member, the male council member, as Queen Ramonda, is dressing down Okoye and stripping her of her station. She's stripping her of it. The male council member is like, do you or do you not remember that Okoye was going to attack her own husband for Wakanda? Do we remember that? Do we remember the loyalty of Okoye? Are we really sitting here questioning whether or not she did her best? Or whether or not it was some lack on her part, the reason why Shuri not here? Are we really prepared to say that about her? You're not thinking it through. You moving too hasty. You're moving too fast. You're not thinking. See, he's giving her leadership. She's not listening. M'Baku speaks up. Basically on the same page. Like, so you gonna exile and banish Okoye, the general of the Dora Milaje, that ain't never did nothing but be loyal? This is how you repay loyalty? This? Wow. Wow. Okay. She not listening. She emotional and she not listening to this. She's not listening to male leadership. Why? Because she's in the seat of power. That's why she's not listening. We're going to get to it. Because she's getting an objection from the men. She then goes to seek out Nakia because Nakia is a war dog and a spy to go and rescue Shuri because she like, we need it, quick, silent, we need somebody that know how to move silently, blah, 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 blah. Interestingly enough, Nakia is in Haiti and she been there. And Queen Ramonda is questioning her like, why didn't you show up at the funeral, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, listen, I'm not prepared to act like that didn't bother me. T'Challa was my everything. And she wasn't afraid to basically say, I'm kind of lost without him. I'm lost without him. I'm lost without that man's leadership. I'm lost. But I'll go rescue Shuri. I'll go get her. And she does. She does. She does go and get Shuri. In the process of rescuing Shuri and Riri, she kills the guards. This act enrages Namor. She manages to bring Shuri and Riri back safely. But now Namor stages an attack on Wakanda. Okay? And they are woefully underprepared for that attack. During this attack, Queen Ramonda is killed. Okay? Queen Ramonda is killed. The fact that Queen Ramonda is killed enrages Shuri. Now, Shuri wants vengeance. Now, before we get to her and her vengeance, there was another key scene between M'Baku and Shuri. This is at the funeral or after the burial of Queen Ramonda. And he's asking Shuri, where's your heart? Where are you at right now? And she tells M'Baku, I just buried the one person that know me the best and my heart was buried with her. So she's telling M'Baku that I'm even further down the path of not having good spiritual value anymore. Now I don't have good spiritual value. Now I don't have good family value. And she like, nah, I'm going to go kill Namor and blah, 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 blah. So he gives her leadership again. And he tells her, he brings it to her attention. He told her, he said, do you see how they refer to him? How his people refer to him? They don't call him king. They don't call him that. They call him, and I'm hoping I'm not messing up the word, Ku Klux Klan, which is basically the ancient serpent god of the Mayans. So what he was telling her, he said, they see him as a god. If you try to kill him, if you kill him, we will be in perpetual war with them. With the one nation that could actually destroy us. The one nation in the whole wide world that could actually do it. Nobody else can do it. They can. And you want to have war with them. She not listening. She goes back into the lab. And she goes ahead and completes the synthesizing of the heart-shaped herb. She takes the heart-shaped herb, but it's very key. This is the key and the crux to the entire movie, what we about to get to right now. She takes the heart-shaped herb. What does she forego? Somebody put it in the chat if you know. What does Shuri forego in the taking of a synthesized version? See, that's important too. This isn't even the natural version of the heart-shaped herb. She's taken a synthesized version and she forgoes the tradition of getting buried. Why? Because she does not believe in the spiritual value. This is so important. Y'all mind is about to be blown. Nakia wants her to keep up the tradition, the value system. And when she forgoes being buried, Nakia looking like, are you serious right now? You serious? Most important scene in the whole movie. Shuri takes the heart-shaped herb. Before I get to that, we're going to back up to something else that was very important. I'm going to back it up. When Queen Ramonda dies, there comes the next key scene from the Americans. When Queen Ramonda is reported dead, that is when the CIA decides to destabilize Wakanda. They was like, we don't have to go to war with them. We can destabilize them from the inside. We can do that. Thank you, Ra. Said her ancestors abandoned her in that moment because she abandoned tradition. I'm going to tell you why that's key and why they waited until Queen Ramonda died. Put a 1 in the chat if you want to know why they waited until Queen Ramonda died. Because, see, the men were gone. The men were gone. Put a 1 in the chat if you want to know why it was important that Queen Ramonda was gone too. Thank you, JJ. Said Black Panther ain't afraid of Namor, nor does he see him as a guy. He even knocked him for flooding Wakanda, but they're going to try to make Namor king. I'm going to tell you why they had to wait until Ramonda. Because even though Queen Ramonda was not a good leader because she was a woman and being too emotional, she had the one thing that they could not overcome, and that was her value system. She was upholding it. She was upholding what she knew was the key to Wakanda's survival, was key to their thriving, was key to their excellence, and what was key to making them who they were. She knew it was about the value system and she held it. She was trying her best to pass it to Shuri, but Shuri wouldn't take it. Thank you, Micah. Says so right. When you forego the spiritual value system, there is no character to protect the power. Even Killmonger kept the value system. Thank you, Barry. Says sounds like black folks can learn a lot from Namor when it comes to sovereignty and looking after your own. Thank you, Pharaoh. Said why the guy who played T'Chaka in the opening of the first Black Panther could replace Chadwick. They both look extremely alike. And they did. Thank you, Dub Will. Said now how you going to destabilize the most technologically advanced nation on the face of the earth? I don't know. You do it by subverting their value system. That's why waiting until Queen Ramonda was dead. She was the last vanguard of it. Even though she wasn't a man, she was not equipped to lead. She was not equipped to lead at all. She proved it. She proved it by not being a diplomat. She proved it by not having the proper conversations. She did not show good leadership because she's not a leader. Okay? She was a lioness, not a leader. Lionesses are not leaders. We're supporters, not leaders. So Queen Ramonda was not equipped to do no leading. She would not, if T'Chaka or T'Challa were there, all of them fights that they was having, and when I watched it, I was like, they having all the wrong fights in this movie. They all the wrong fights. All the fights are wrong. All the conflicts are wrong. Because the women are emotional and there are no male leaders. When the men are gone, and when the last of the women that hold the value system are gone, we are ripe for destabilization. Did that or did that not happen to us in real life in America? Did we not? When they assassinated Malcolm, and when they assassinated Martin, and when they assassinated our male leaders, and when they jailed the women who were actually keeping up that value system, when they ran them off or killed them or exiled them, then we were ripe for what? Destabilization. How did they do it? Our value system was subverted, and they subverted the women. Shuri is a woman with a subverted value system. She's ripe, and she's the leader of Wakanda. Subverted black women are the leaders of black community. We're subverted. We are destabilized. Which leads me back to Shuri taking the heart-shaped herb. She finds herself in the throne room, in the spirit realm, a place she didn't believe in. And who does she see sitting on the throne but Killmonger? Because see, you see the person you're most closely aligned with in the spirit realm. Not the person you want to see, but the person you need to see. She wanted to see her mama, and she wanted to see T'Challa. No. She's not aligned with them, with her value system. She was most aligned with Killmonger. But Killmonger is the representation of the lost value system. He's colonized here. Do we understand that? Thank you, Eric said Disney is psychologically attacking the black mind with slow poison. Yes, they are. And when she come around that corner to see Njadaka, and he's sitting there like, yeah, it's me. Me. You got me. What you doing here? He said, the what is never as important as the why. Why me? Why? I want to see my mama. He's like, no. We're not doing that. And he begins to talk to her. And I'm going to paraphrase it. Thank you, Macmillian. I said, preach sis, I love what you're doing. Peace be unto you, and peace be unto you as well. Thank you so much. He said, no. We're not doing all that whining and crying. You got me. And I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to you. You was trying to destroy Wakanda and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Right. See, your daddy was a hypocrite. Now, what is Killmonger talking about? T'Chaka, when we go back to the first one, made a fateful decision. Thank you, D. Said Killmonger was colonizing the mind. Okay, you got to go deeper or a new show. He represented the lost value system. But we identify with Killmonger because we grew up in the lost value system. We grew up in it. So we identify with Killmonger. We understand his motivation. We know why he was doing what he was doing. And part of us felt he was right in the manner that he was doing everything. He was still representing the lost value system because he took on the method, the thought, and the value system of the very people that colonized him and all the other American blacks. That's why we can't get ahead, because we colonized in here. We have the colonizer's value system. That's why we stuck in survival mode and barely doing that. We got it. We think wealth is at the top and we don't got no spiritual value. We believe that to make it in this world, you can't have a good spiritual value. We got to fight fire with fire. We can't be people who have a moral compass and come out on top. We got to get down dirty with him and do what a colonizer do in order to get what a colonizer got. Not understanding that they subvert our value system because they're jealous of it, because we're always the one living in abundance, not them. Because you don't colonize no place that's poor. What sense would it make to do it? You never colonize a people nor a place that don't got no resources. They're rich when you get there. That's why you're colonizing them. And then convince them that they didn't have anything that was worth nothing. So why you over here taking it? If it ain't worth nothing, leave it alone. A double dog day to leave it then. Leave it alone. Leave me and my nothing resources alone. Thank you, Almighty 10. So overdue for paying up. But Kendra, you're on fire today. I pulled the same messages from this film. Thank you. And thank you, Blue Collar Bill. I've caught some of your reviews of me. I appreciate that. Said, preach, sister, preach. Thank you so much. Child of Light says, much as I didn't want to see this film, now you convinced me to see it, beloved. Setting my phone on fire, beloved, with this cook. Thank you so much, Child of Light. Thank you, D. Said, oh, okay, I got it. No problem, sweetheart. Thank you, D. Said, wow, oh my goodness, got it. I wasn't trying to beat you over the head with it, brother. Please forgive me. I wasn't trying to beat nobody over the head with it. But we do have to really make this whole thing clear, because that was the point of the movie. See, was they pushing all them other agendas about, the misandry and the feminists and yeah, they was doing all of that. They was doing all of that in this film. All of what you thought they was about to do about removing the men and all that kind of stuff. Of course they did it. But there was also the truth of where we are as a black community. Where are the men? And why are they gone? Because they just decided to leave? No. Because they were forced out. And there ain't nothing no more final being forced out than death. Right? Right. Thank you again, Child of Light. So like I said before, beloved, you are a wellspring of knowledge and wisdom. Thank you, Jedi Mice. Are you going to be noble like your brother or take care of business like me, Killmonger? Exactly. That's the part I was getting to. Thank you, Micah. Said, remember Idi Amin in Uganda. That is Killmonger recycling the lost value system. Exactly. See, Killmonger, he was like, your daddy was a hypocrite, right? Because he killed his brother, but he left me there to get absorbed into the lost value system like I did. That's why I'm who I am. That's why I was so mad. That's why I was upset. That's why I came and set fire to everything. T'Challa was too noble. He let the man that killed your father live. Now, see, what he really saying is T'Challa, see, it's the drawing of weakness. It's the connecting of weakness to the 10 life value system. Connect weakness to spiritual compass. Connect weakness to moral compass. Connect weakness to not allowing the actions of somebody else to take you off your value system. And he drew that together as weak. That was weak of T'Challa. In his mind. T'Challa was weak. He was too noble. So what are you gonna be? You gonna be noble like your brother? Mr. Goody Two Shoes, don't kill nobody? Or you gonna take care of business like I do? Which one you gonna do? Because you said you wanted to burn the world. We can burn it together, baby. Baby! You know I'm down with it. You know I'm down. And then this is where we see the scene, especially in a trailer, of the throne room burning. What was that reminiscent of? What did Killmonger burn? What did Killmonger burn? He burnt the heart-shaped herb. Why? Because, see, he didn't like it when one of the women who was tending the herbs, he said, burn it all. She said, and she had to stop. She said, what about your legacy? What about the king to come after you? He said, ain't no king after me. And when I tell you to do something, do it. I said, burn it. If that ain't the lost value system, I don't know what is. He did not understand legacy. That's key to the lost value system. No legacy. What don't we have in the black community? No legacy. No generational wealth. Nothing to come after me. Ain't nobody coming after me. I don't prepare nothing for the generation after me. I get mine. They'll figure out how to get theirs later. Right? Thank you, Pharaoh. Once again, so Kendra, I make independent comics. Can I make a female Muslim warrior character based on you? I will give you free comics of the series. Oh, that's sweet. Thank you, Gifty Sine said, this channel is like water in the desert, pure gold, a much needed source of life for us black females and the entire Pan-African community. My first time watching. Thank you, so divine lioness queen. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Thank you. Killmonger burned it all. That's why she saw Killmonger and not her mom and not her dad and not T'Challa and not nobody else. She saw Killmonger. Because her and Killmonger are like this. And what was Killmonger going to do to Wakanda? What was his ways going to do to Wakanda? It was going to destroy it. Because he didn't care about traditions either. And he didn't care about the spirit realm either. Now, we're skipping other things. We're skipping some other things. Because I never intended on going scene for scene. When she wakes up, this is another key. When Shuri wakes up and Nakia asks her, who did you see? Did Shuri tell the truth? Thank you, JB, said T'Challa, equal responsible, nice guy, Killmonger, Pookie. Okay. D, thank you so much. Did the movie explain what happened to the men of Wakanda? No. That was part of the feminist agenda. No, they didn't explain that. Did Shuri tell the truth? No. She did not tell Nakia that she even went to the spirit realm, let alone who she saw, because she didn't want to admit who she saw. She didn't want to admit she was wrong about the spirit realm. No accountability. What's the problem with black women today? No accountability. Don't want to be wrong. Told Nakia, I don't think it worked. Punched that thing, went through the wall. Nakia looked at her like, yes, it did. So now we got a Black Panther that's built on a lie. She lying. She lying to herself. She lying to the people around her that she's supposed to be counting on to keep her alive, and they count on her to keep them alive. Lying to them. You can't lead in lies. She bypasses the suit of T'Chaka and T'Challa, and she gets her own suit, but it is a homage to Killmonger's suit because she put the gold flecks in it. Who was Killmonger? The Golden Jaguar. So she's most aligned. She's proven where her alignment is. Who her value system is in line with. She Killmonger. She heads out to war, right? Her and Riri figure out a way to exploit one of the weaknesses that Namor have. Okay, they're going to dry him out and blah, 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 whatever. It's not all that important. They get to the field of battle, everybody fighting, blah, blah, blah. Namor tearing them off. He tearing them up. Okay? So him and, side note, Riri was so unnecessary, y'all. Anybody who saw Artisan, if you still in here, did you find, just like I did, Riri to be completely unnecessary in this entire movie? Her and trying to have that little bootleg iron suit. Notice that everything that the women have and that the women do is what men have already done. Nothing original. Nothing original. All of the technology and the way that Wakanda is built, women didn't do that. Women didn't have nothing to do with that. The women did not do that. The men did that. The men did that. Who came up with Iron Man? Tony Stark, a man. Riri ain't did nothing unique. It's an iron suit. Duh. Every iron suit after Iron Man is a bootleg Iron Man suit. And wasn't doing a good job of flying and fighting in it. She had Namor on her back, couldn't even blast off, girl, if you don't knock it off. Thank you, thank you so much, Ash. She said, love you. God bless you and your family. How do I become a member? You have earned my support and generosity. You are an example of a beautiful black woman. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So much, Ash. And I have not turned on memberships. I'm so sorry. The Compliment King, thank you so much. I felt like a ritual watching it. That phallic scene, yeah. And yeah, Artisan, yeah. She was annoying. The Riri was annoying. They did some other stuff in this movie too that I'm gonna point out, but we're gonna get past this stuff. So now, skipping a few scenes, Namor and Shuri end up in a one-on-one fight. And Namor whooping her like he ought to. Okay? He too fast. He too strong. You understand what I mean? So he whooping her because Shuri is all of 90 pounds wet and wearing boots. I don't care what kind of herb she took. You understand me? I don't care what, because she could have took 10 of them herbs. What did she really have coming? No, but nothing. Okay. Thank you, Mel One. Said a lot of lesbian undertones in Wakanda Forever, and I agree that Riri was very unnecessary. We gonna get to the rainbow undertones. Oh yes, and thank you, Miley One, and anybody that if you're looking for the membership button, just please do me a super favor and just subscribe if you will. Thank you so much for all of the support. I'm trying to figure out, why does she know how to quote unquote fight? Shuri is a scientist, okay? And even that's doing too much. But Shuri is the scientist. She's not a diplomat. She's not a queen. She's not a leader. She's not a warrior. She's not none of that. She's none of that. She has no qualification at all for being anything that she was called to be in this movie. She failed to negotiate properly with Namor. That was a fail. She failed. Oh, I forgot a key scene. MJA says Shuri admitted her knowledge came from T'Challa. She need to. One of the key scenes before they end up going to war is she goes to the Jabari because M'Baku had agreed to assist the other tribes by allowing them to evacuate into Jabari land because after the attack that Namor did. I almost forgot about that. Thank you, Ruminant says Shuri is a Keisha Sue. She sure is. Okay, and so when after Shuri take this herb, she jumped down in the middle of Jabari land in M'Baku's throne room, basically telling M'Baku what he gonna do. So everybody's cheering like, okay, we got Black Panther back. You know what I'm saying? Like Shuri's the only one, blah, 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 blah. We got a Black Panther to help us. Okay, so then she requests to speak to M'Baku by herself, just him and her. So he like, you really gonna go against my like my counsel? Like I told you that trying to kill Namor is problematic. Thank you again, Child of Light. So anyone that's seen Naruto knows he had the spirit of his friends and family to help him through many battles. This parallels the opposite for Shuri in the like of Sasuke. No spiritual support. Thank you. And thank you, Miss Monique. And she like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to have vengeance and blah, blah, blah. And he's just kind of looking at her like, you can see the disappointment in M'Baku's face. Like, yeah, you took the heart-shaped herb. So you technically the Black Panther, but you know, I think I like T'Challa better than you. And you could tell he respected T'Challa because he kept him alive in the first one. And if I'm not mistaken, did he or did he not ask her who she saw in that spirit realm? Am I mistaken? Am I remembering that right? Am I remembering that right? Did he or did he not ask her? Because I know Nakia asked her a second time. Nakia asked her twice. Yes. I know I was remembering it right. He asked her who she, and she, I ain't see nobody. M'Baku just looking at her like, scoffing at tradition again. Look at you. Then she jumped dead into all this masculine energy. Then got to telling him how he better help her. I'm going to take him down and you going to help me. Just basically, it was a scene of emasculating M'Baku, which infuriated me actually. Because M'Baku had represented nothing but masculinity and not letting nobody talk over him or do nothing with him or tell him what to do. You wasn't going to put no battery in his back. You wasn't about to do none of that with M'Baku, okay? None of it. Thank you, Joker. He was the epitome of that. He came to challenge day. When it was supposed to just be a ceremony, he like, nah, ain't gonna be just no ceremony. We ain't just doing nothing ceremonial. He gonna earn that. If I got anything to say about it, he gonna earn that. He gonna earn his little Black Panther role and his little kingship. We just not gonna give it. And that's when he was telling everybody about theyself. And that's when he made his criticism of Shuri. We will not have it. I said, we will not have it. Only to get into this movie and have Shuri, all the 9 pounds, all of her, tell M'Baku what he better do. And he did it. He showed up in solidarity with the rest of the Wakandan tribes to fight. So now let me go back forward to the one-on-one scene, the one-on-one fight between Shuri and Namor, because I'm not going to call her the Black Panther. She's Shuri. So he whooping her to a fine sauce. The only reason why she gets any leg up on him is because of the drying out and weakening him that she's doing. So now we get to, I'm skipping a lot. We get into the very end part where she's in a position to deal a death blow to Namor. She done burnt him. She done did all kinds of stuff to him, ripped his little wing off his leg. That kind of made me mad. I ain't like that she ripped his little wing off his leg. Leave your wing alone. You just mess with his leg. You know, I found that to be a dirty little move right there. Thank you, Mr. Mika. I'm poor right now. For now, but keep it up, Miss Kendra. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Pharaoh. M'Baku was like Shaka Zulu and had Ogun vibes. Yeah, you know. Now ripped his little wing. You know, I ain't like that. You know, leave Submariner wing alone. Leave his wing alone now. But anyway, she gets to a position where she's able to potentially deal a death blow to Namor. So, you know, she huffing it, but they did their best to try to make her look intimidating. There's nothing intimidating about her. So she huffing and puffing and she thinking about, you know, all of these things that done happen and blah, blah, blah. And she get mad and, you know, all this foolishness. Finally, she envisions her mother. And her mother says, show them who you are. And it was said in a different tone than she screamed it to T'Challa in the first one. It was almost like, I'm waiting to see who you are too. Because I actually don't know you. You're not the daughter I thought I raised. I don't know if nobody else got that emotion out of that. But I kind of got that emotion out of that where her mom is coming to her like, yeah, we all want to know what you really made of. Go ahead. Because she didn't tell her don't do it, and she didn't tell her to do it. Thank you again, Pharaoh. Said I will only watch because Angela Bassett is fine. So she ends up telling Namor that he needs to yield so that she wouldn't have to kill him. So Namor begins to think, because earlier in the movie, he tells her the history of him. He actually refers to himself as a mutant, which I thought was cool. So he actually, when she was down there the first time in his kingdom, he was talking to her and he was telling her the history of his people and how they became to live underwater and things of that nature because of their dealings with the colonizers, getting smallpox and all that kind of stuff, and then coming back up and having to bury his mom. And you know the whole story. You can watch it to get the whole story. So he starts thinking about that history because I love my people, right? I love my people. That's what he's thinking about, his people. He's thinking about his history. He's thinking about, you know what I'm saying? Just the nobility of his people. Like, where would his people be if he was killed? What would happen to them? So in that strain, he yields. So he didn't yield in fear of Shuri or really in fear of death. His concern was the greater good of his people. Like a male leader. Like T'Challa was thinking about. The greater good of his people. What saves Wakanda? Not what satisfies him. So they end up in a truce. Everybody put their weapons down. Skipping a few things. They end up at the end, towards the end of the movie, where they're seen to be rebuilding Wakanda and blah, 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 blah. They got a little scene with two of the Dora Milaje where they kiss one another. You know, they put a little, threw that in there. Know if y'all peeped that one. They tried to make a little romantic connection between Riri and Shuri. Did anybody pick that up? Did anybody pick that up? Because see, this is Disney we talking about. So they're not going to leave it at a friendship between two girls that just have things in common. They're not going to leave it as a friendship. They're going to try to make it more than that. Because at the end, when Shuri presents the rebuilt car to Riri, they like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Oh, man, this is my daddy's car, blah, blah, blah. She said, yeah, I have it shipped over there, blah, blah, blah. They talking. Yeah, you should come. You know what I'm saying? We'll hang out and, you know, we'll do this and we'll do that and blah, 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 blah. And Shuri's like, well, you know, okay, I got some things to do, but, you know, all of that type of thing. Artisan said that other Dora was a trans. Like in real life? Like the actress or actor or whatever. Is that what you mean, Artisan? Thank you, DeMarcus. Said, how did you feel about Killmonger saying, I wish Killmonger had a bigger role in the movie? they could have done something else with Killmonger. His role in the movie was very key. I don't necessarily think he needed a bigger one if they were going to do it like this. If I were to have done it, Killmonger would not have been dead. He would have been undergoing changes of value systems so that he could actually be the rightful leader of Wakanda. That's how I would have done it. If I was writing it, I would have had it where T'Challa had saved Killmonger because he really shouldn't have died from. But anyway, you know what? Whatever. I would have just had it where they had the technology to save him, and he would have been saved, and he would have been sort of like, you know, not necessarily a prisoner of Wakanda, but staying there to do his real inner spiritual work and understand why his way didn't work, and sort of have his character do an arc where he comes to understand why T'Challa made the decisions that he did, and really why T'Chaka did what he did, whether he liked it or not. So essentially, a changing of his value system would have allowed Killmonger to be a good leader of Wakanda, and he could have been that as the Golden Jaguar. That's just how I would have done it. Thank you, Japan Style. So the machine Shuri used to revive the heart-shaped herb will be the same machine to revive Killmonger. So they imply that Shuri and Riri are gonna get together. So she's still part of the lost value system. Where is that in Wakanda's values? But anyway, then we see her visit Nakia, the woman she lied to twice. She visits Nakia in Haiti, where Nakia goes back. And Shuri finally does the spiritual exercise that her mother was trying to get her to do by burning the ceremonial funeral clothes and things of that nature. And like she begins to remember T'Challa and all of the times they spent together, and sort of was like a tribute, you know, or what have you. It doubled as her memories and as a tribute to Chadwick. And she's seen crying as she's doing this. But her tears we should not be fooled by this. Because she's still, as far as we know, part of the lost value system. I didn't see an arc that changed it. I didn't see anything that changed that outcome. Wakanda is still under the leadership of a teenage girl or a young adult girl that does not carry the same value systems as Wakanda. She's gonna burn it. She's gonna burn it. She's gonna destroy it, like Black women have aided in destroying the Black community in real life. Thank you. Micah said they use Chadwick Death Memorial as the cover to push this Black feminist agenda all in the film. Thank you, White Ranger. Thank you so much. Now, what would the solutions have been? We'll get to the end credit in a minute. What would the solutions have been? Put a 2 in the chat if you want to know what the solutions would have been. The solution in the movie, and y'all bear with me here, hold on to your butts with this one. The solution in the movie would have been the same solution that exists right now. Same solution. Thank you, Eric Powell says, sister, the truth you're broadcasting is giving me chills. Preach. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Ross. Said if they were willing to rehabilitate Bucky White Wolf, they could have rehabilitated in Jadaka. Thing is, Bucky didn't belong to them, so he took good care. They took good care of him, but in Jadaka did, so they could care less. Marriage. Marriage is to re-invite the men into the leadership role. Whose marriages? Do we know that the situation with Riri and Namor's contention would have been resolved if she married one of them Atlanteans or Talokan people? Make her able to live there. He marry her to one of his people. Make her one of his people. And she ain't got to be a prisoner, but she can't leave. That resolves her. That resolves her. That's the peaceful resolution that doesn't kill her, and it gives Namor what he's looking for, which is the safety and preservation of his people. Shuri should have married M'Baku. They had it almost like comic relief at the end when it was supposed to be Challenge Day. Yet another tradition that she scoffs and that they don't do. And instead of Shuri coming down, M'Baku comes down and it's all like a joke. But what happens if Shuri marries M'Baku? He's already proven himself a worthy leader. If Shuri marries M'Baku, M'Baku becomes king. And then he's in charge of Wakanda. Now, I know in the comic book, M'Baku is not the Black Panther. Okay? M'Baku is the gorilla, which is why they had the mask and stuff like that. Thank you, Dee said thank you. Thank you. But marriages would have saved them. It would have saved all of that because they were fighting all the wrong fights. Yeah, M'Baku is the man ape. We know that. But it would have worked. Trust me, they changed other stuff. It would have worked. But they didn't want it to work because the movie is telling the story, our story as it is. We will be in disarray under the leadership of women. That's what happened. The women didn't know how to lead. No leadership. Fighting all the wrong fights. Not negotiating, not talking, bad communication, lying, outright bald-head lies too. Shuri told several bald-head lies about that spirit realm stuff. 2 important people. She lied twice to Nakia's face and once to M'Baku's face, and both of them knew she was lying. Led them people through a lie. No reason to think she's not going to continue that trend. They already been subverted because their leader follows the lost value system. Wakanda's doomed because of that. Black community has been doomed because lost value system. And who's in charge of the community? Black women. Who don't got no leadership? Black women. Who don't know what they doing? Black women. Who need to in charge? Black men. When were we thriving as a community? When black men were in charge of it. Are we seeing the parallels? That's why they removed them. That's why the colonizer removed black men. Thank you, habitual line stepper. I ain't seen you in a while. How you doing, sweetheart? So they're going to use King M'Baku more in Black Panther 3 as it will be his fault Wakanda is attacked. Shuri will come to the rescue. End credits show hope in the form of T'Challa's son that Nakia has. She's raising him in Haiti. I found that is symbolic because what is Haiti known for? What do we know Haiti for? What did they do? What did they do? Thank you, Swade Houston. Incredible forensic analysis, as always. Thank you so much. The revolution. They overturned the colonizer and set themselves free. That's why they punish Haiti now. That's why they don't help Haitians. That's why they don't like them. They rebelled and won. So I thought that was interesting, that she's raising T'Challa's son in a place that has already overthrown a colonizer. But it's a story that implies there could be hope if black people return to what? A patriarchy under strong black male leadership, because they in trouble right now. They in trouble because the women are in charge. That's why they in trouble. And the key thing about Nakia is that she cares about the value system that Wakanda has. She cares about the tradition. And she expressed to Okoye at one point in the movie how much she loved and how much T'Challa was her everything. And that she just couldn't act like his death didn't do nothing to her. Like it didn't break her, because it did. So I hope y'all enjoyed my little breakdown today. Did we enjoy the breakdown today, y'all? Do we understand what? See, this was a story about value systems. That's why this one is uglier than the last one, because that one told the story about the value system we came from. This one tells the story about the value system we in and all the trouble we in. Thank you, William Jones. Thank you, free Wi-Fi. So I knew you was going to break it all the way down, Miss Kendra. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown, Artisan, if you're still here. I hope you enjoyed it. Because your breakdown was very, the one that you did with Dr. Tia-san, excellent breakdown. Excellent breakdown, because y'all went into the history of the character and everything. Thank you, J Rock says, so they're going to completely write off the relationship Black Panther had with Storm because they have not even really introduced the mutants like they need to into the MCU yet. They could actually still do it. I mean, it's the multiverse. It's all this. They can work it in if they wanted to. Another timeline, they could do it if they wanted to. So it's not like out of the question, but I doubt that they do it. If they don't do a reboot, a real one of the X-Men, I'm going to be mad, baby. The X-Men is 22 years old. It's time for a real reboot, not a stupid reboot, a real one. Anyway, glad y'all enjoyed it. Before we sign off, I want to draw everybody's attention to Black Lives Matter petition that we have against them for their theft of more than $100 million. See, they made a promise to the Black community that they did not uphold. And so their feet have to be held to the fire for that. Now, I released a video that fully explains the petition. It fully explains our 6-step initiative that we find here. So if you want in-depth and detailed information about our petition that we have against Black Lives Matter and the 6-step initiative, please refer to that video. If my mods would go ahead and put the link to that video in the chat room, that would be helpful as well. But suffice it to say here that we are holding Black Lives Matter accountable for the lies, accountable for removing Black male leadership from the organization, from stealing from the Black community in such an egregious way, misappropriating all of those funds and then running off like they didn't do anything. So we definitely have our work cut out for us, but it is more than necessary for us to do so. And the first step in holding them accountable is the galvanizing of the community and coming together in support of the petition in the first place. So if you have not signed it, I really, really implore you to sign it, to share it, contribute to it if you can. Someone stated before that you had to pay to sign, and it really shouldn't be that way. That should be optional on the site. But please go ahead and sign the petition, share it all over your social media, share it everywhere, and contribute to it if you can. Also, I want to thank everyone for their contribution. Very generous today. I really appreciate everyone through Super Chat, through PayPal, through Cash App as well. I appreciate the likes. I appreciate the conversation as well here. Very much appreciated. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank my support team for always having my back, because without them, we would not be able to give you this much needed content on this channel. So thank you so much to them as well. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye, Crimsonites. Hey guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And if you've got more to say on the topic, leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to support our sponsor, who so graciously supports this channel by clicking the description box and the link for A-Game at agameherbal.com. You can go ahead and get a 10% discount off of your next purchase using the code Kendra10. This has been yet another Crimson Cure production, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.